And you can say that you talked to Matt. What was in the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we repeat that last phrase? I wasn't sure what
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. And, see, we do have
Member absent and is Eric, but he didn't indicate he'd be coming.
He's right here, he's here.
okay,
Everybody's here.
That's Lewis that I was telling you about.
everyone's here but Pat. All right, but
That's correct.
Okay. All righty. Hello, Robin.
All right.
All right, well, our first, we have some announcements. Alex, would you like to share those?
Sure, Ken. We have vacancies on the Environmental Advisory Council. We did receive, we're getting letters of interest in, and supervisors are gonna act at least on one of them on their meeting coming up next Tuesday, 26th. So, you know, as I mentioned at the last meeting, it's unlikely our chair will be returning. So, I would anticipate a second vacancy at some point once we sort of get a better understanding of that situation. The next one is Rivers Edge Bike Park public meeting. That's next Wednesday, 27th at 6:00 p.m. This is the final public meeting where the majority of the supervisors are going to be there. They're going to be making a decision on the concept plan, which was sort of refined at meeting, I think it was back several months ago. And then there might be a narrative report to discuss as well. So this is, you know, if you have any interest whatsoever in Rivers Edge Bike Park, this would be a good one to go to.
Is the concept plan on the website?
It'll be presented at the meeting, so it's not ready
You
yet.
can't look at it in advance.
No, it's not quite ready. That's like when it'll be revealed. It's not gonna be ready in advance.
Because this group, to my knowledge, has never had any understanding of what the concept plan is or what the results of the survey.
Yeah, that's true. You guys haven't been kept in the loop and
Well, I'm
primarily.
on that committee, so I was at that last meeting. So we do have some representation.
I have no understanding.
Well, it's not the simplest plan, or there's some, it needs a detailed presentation. We just can't whip it out in 5 minutes. It doesn't work that way. When you say that's a fair statement.
Have you went down and looked at it, Mitch? Got where the park's going?
I'm sorry.
He's asking.
Have you went down and looked where the bike park's going? There's actual some trails in there to walk around and look.
Yeah, I've been down there.
Okay.
The park is open, it's
Yeah.
not closed, you
Yeah.
can see it, but it's obviously the bike part of the park is not in great shape, it's in terrible condition.
Yeah. The grant isn't necessarily proposing any improvements. It's a planning grant so that the township can then next year, the year after, apply for grants to actually do the things that are on the sketch. That's and then to your point. Results of the survey, I can send a link to everybody if you want to watch the video on YouTube where Missy presents it. That would probably be the easiest way to give you all an update on what was discussed. So I'll make note of that here.
I think that'll work pretty.
Yeah, I feel like that'll keep everybody.
I mean,
catch everybody up.
if I was gonna attend the meeting, I'd like to have some way of preparing.
I wish we could find the video that Channel 13 did when we opened the bike park, because you could see how lovely it was when it began.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was done in a way where it didn't satisfy the conservation district requirements for rain gardens and drainage. And also the people that did it, and it was all volunteers, insisted on doing it out of clay because that's the best material for bikers. However, the next season it rained all summer long. And despite tarps and everything that was kind of the end of what it looked like, and what we're left with now is a sad. A remnant of, what happens when erosion gets rid of everything that was there.
Well, the problem was maintenance, and the new plan will incorporate a plan that solves the maintenance
Correct.
problem.
Yeah,
And that's why we're trying to go slowly here and get a whole plan that's comprehensive, get that approved. So that the next step is we can actually do things to make the bike park into a real bike park.
And
And I've said this before, if you really want to see what a good one looks like and how much they are used and how versatile they are, go up to Port Jervis, and there's a park. It's on this side of the railroad tracks, Port Jervis, that I think they spent $1 million on, which is a beautiful bike park, and it has hills and things for all levels of bikers, including little, wave bumps for kids that can go over, plus stuff where you can, fix your bike with little tools and stuff like that. It's very nice. And that's what I'm hoping we can go for, something like that. And it's paved, by the way. So,
okay. The only other announcement, Ken, is we have solidified October 11th for pick up the Poconos. Anybody from the public can volunteer to help us. The expectations is we'll all be there, members of the EAC. And I did scout it out, Fawn Road, parking up at the top and then walking down about a mile and then back up. That's where the majority of the roadside litter is. It's surprisingly substantial. So those who do come will have plenty to do, and we're working on making sure that we have the necessary safety in place to make it good for everybody. But I do feel confident at this point that it is a viable spot. It'll be productive. Everyone will feel like they're both getting their steps in and helping beautify the community. So more to come. Hopefully next time we'll have more information on the
for
safety
the
provisions. Things like
the
that.
comments at the last meeting, Jacob and I did talk about this.
Oh.
Had talked about two things. One is getting the road crew involved, because there's a lot of stuff down there we can't do, but even beyond that, getting the county waste authority involved, because they do this all the time. And they're the ones that really have the equipment to pull up, old bathtubs, toilets, and 6-burner stoves that we have to get rid of.
It's worth noting, I reached out to Mike Stetler shortly after we discussed it here, and he said he'll look into it. He might be able to send some folks there. Look, we're trying to figure it all out, but I feel very confident it's gonna happen. And I'm glad to hear that the road crew is gonna support us.
One way or another, we're aware of the problem. But
Gentleman in the back.
Yeah, I just wanna, I recently went up and down Fawn a couple times. Where is the track located? Cause you don't physically see it from the
I
roadside.
think it's down the,
Down, when you come off of 447, you go up the hill, it's down over.
yeah,
Okay.
there's a whole area there with a ravine.
Okay. Cause I went up there and go, I don't see no trash here.
Let's put it this way, if you're riding up in a pickup truck, it looks like the area where you just give the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
We just did a cleanup up section
okay.
of all the visitor stuff.
It's up by where the water company parking is. If you park it like up there, but if you go like down about a mile and a half from the water company down that hill, it's all over the side of the road. There's not so much of it as you go further down, like towards the houses and stuff. It's really in that middle of top zone.
Okay,
But there's a lot. I mean, up there, I don't know that it's been done in, some time, so.
And the same problem is on Mount Negro Road, and the same kind of terrain.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes and tackle that one next for sure. I mean, but definitely.
So a couple specific comments. We're only 60 days away.
Mitch, can you speak up a little?
We're only 60 days away. Okay, and we really should have this on our website already.
It is on the event. It is an event.
And then the next question is, how do we solicit and get people to volunteer, and how do they sign up? I mean, they could call somebody, we could have a QR code, which would be a really neat way. They just take a picture of it if they want to volunteer. I mean, there's probably a list of 20 different items that need to be done. And the sooner we get those started, the better.
I think
It's a good point.
we usually do it first by having it on the website. I'm not sure what else we do, but maybe if there's a Facebook page, you put it there,
Another way would
yeah.
be to have, put an announcement on channel 13. And have
Absolutely.
community announcements on that.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
Then we hope for the best, but I've been up there for a couple of these events and we usually have a good group of volunteers. And what I've done when I go up there is always bring pastries, so everybody has something to eat. I started a couple of years ago stopping at the new Polish bakery on the 209 by LTS. Buying a box of stuff, bring it up, everybody appreciates it, especially since it's not Dunkin', it's something better and interesting. So,
To get it on the radio, to get it on channel 13, that would be great.
And Mitch, I can ask Jacob to put it on the announcement on the supervisor agendas too.
And maybe something in the seldom read anymore Pocono record. I don't know whether they do that or not.
Oh, and the newsletter too, that's going out in
yeah,
September.
in fact, we had to talk to the supervisors about providing a little money for coffee, soft drinks, pastries, whatever. Make it something that, we're making people feel welcome that they've come up and done this.
Yeah.
As long as they don't take the drink cans and throw them over.
You can also get Debbie Kula to include that as one of her items. In
That's a
her,
good idea. That's a really good idea. I can ask.
Her blur.
To ask, right?
Oh, I'm sure she put that in there as long as she knows about it.
We just, yeah, these are all good suggestions. Okay.
All right, let's see, I think we're up to minutes. And I need a motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Motion?
I'll second it, no one else.
Made by Eric, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mitch. Okay. So, any additions or corrections to the minutes, which are pretty lengthy this time for a meeting that didn't even last an hour?
Hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, was it that long? I thought it was a person an hour.
We're at 8:17 PM.
All right, you're right.
We had a lot of
There
public.
was a comment in the minutes.
What page, where are we here?
I am on 8B. About
Page eight,
what,
where?
8B.
Oh,
Item 8B.
Item 8B.
Oh, okay.
And basically the comment was that Smithfield Township lacked an ordinance requiring property maintenance.
You like what?
Lacked an ordinance requiring property maintenance.
Mhm.
And I have looked through some of the ordinances. And there are ordinances that deal with what you can store on residential properties.
You're talking about private property,
Yes,
so it's really neglect. And
but we do have ordinances, right?
I think so, we have something about abandoned properties or something like that, so. I don't know if we
You
have
can't
anything
store construction material. I know, I looked that one up myself. You have to look for it, you have to search for it. But the point I'm making is that the comment is made and this is about commercial property, the auto body shop on Franklin Hill Road. And that I haven't checked, I haven't looked for that.
I don't know, quite honestly, but I do know we do have something about abandoned properties. And that's something we should look into because here and there are houses that are boarded up and left. There's properties that have sat there for 20 years and nothing happens with them, which are just eyesores. And it's a good question of what we should be doing to try to coerce people into keeping them up better or tearing them down.
I know we have ordinances against junk cars on, on the road. So,
Look at this, I'm sure you're familiar on Hollow Road with the Goldsmith House. The Goldsmith House, as it's known, I don't know why. Yes, Goldsmiths once lived there, but as long as I've lived here, it's been abandoned. And it's just a terrible eyesore. And the the owners, who are the same people developing Shawnee Valley, keep saying they're gonna take it down, but I haven't seen anything. And, you know, there comes a point where you say, what goes on here? This is just unsightly, so we should discuss this at some point. But
Well, Mitch, my question would be, how would you correct or change the minutes?
Well, I don't know, that's my question, when a comment is made like that, do we let it stand as, perceived fact? Because
the best way to do it,
Public comment's a public comment. I mean, when somebody speaks in a meeting, it's,
the best way I think it's worked for us is on any of these quality of life ordinances, let's say, is to see what's in other townships. Let's just look around and see what there is and what other people have done. Usually somebody's faced the problem and already has an ordinance, and we can look at it and say, yeah, we like parts of this, maybe we can do something like it. Makes it a lot easier.
and then the other thing in the minutes, we passed a motion that we would have the complaint forms available at this meeting.
And I didn't see them out there.
Do we have those?
I had a non-conclusive conversation with one of the supervisors about it, cause I can't go and just put them out there like that. The comment that I can have another conversation, but we have Robert here, and I mean, if I recall the conversation correctly, they indicated that they're right there at the front. All you gotta do is walk in there and get one from the secretary.
So I can walk in and get one right now?
Well, not after hours, but.
Somebody makes a complaint, I mean, that's the whole point. We get complaints in this meeting all the time. And there's no way that we can say, here you go. Here's how you submit your complaint, and it goes to the
That's not true.
supervisor.
There is. What you can do is, you get a form here, or print it out online and submit it. It's online under resources.
That's not as easy.
No, look, if you submit
That
it
puts
here,
the onus back on the person making the complaint.
it used to be that they disappeared into a black hole. It's not true anymore. It's much more organized. Everything that comes in like that is logged in, and there's a spreadsheet on what it is, when it was in, what action was taken, what the conclusion was. It's all there.
So we passed a motion in this meeting to do something that's gonna make it easier for our residents to submit complaints when they're sitting right there. And the supervisors say no.
We didn't say no, they
I'm
just,
not saying no, but
Well, this is the next meeting.
I know, but-
mean,
we're not saying
Where are
no. We're saying it already exists, and what we're trying to do this fall. And it's difficult because you gotta get the right company to do it and so forth, is to make it something that's online interactive where you can fill it out online,
Yes.
just click and it goes in.
Yes,
We don't have that
you
yet.
can do that with Adobe PDF.
Well, anything it is, but there are companies that do this. Don't get into it with me because I don't know, but I'm saying that we don't do it ourselves. You get software from somebody and it works and it does it. So Julia has been just looking at different vendors, and we're gonna make a decision quickly about which one it is. And then
Because you can get all your forms in, and then you can serialize them.
Then you can do what?
They can be automatically serialized. They'll have a barcode on the form itself.
Something like that. That's why you need an outside company that has the software.
If you get a hold of Berkheimer's,
And what?
Berkheimer's,
Berkheimer is a tax.
right, but they use a fillable form, a PDF form, and it's gonna be no different than that form.
But for all we know, they're using the same vendors that we're looking at. We don't know who does
So
theirs.
there would be a good place to start.
It will be done.
All right, the business at hand here, though, is to approve the minutes, so, do we have suitable corrections? In the works here now?
yeah, I don't think there's been any corrections requested at this point. It's been discussion on the substance of the minutes,
Right.
which is reasonable.
All right, well, we need to approve the minutes, the motion's been made and seconded, Then we take a vote on the minutes now?
Aye.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
I,
Aye. Any objections? Abstentions?
Not today.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. Next item is old business A, discussed recommendation on data center ordinance update. And I'm assuming that we've each had a chance to read over the proposed, the draft ordinance. And may I make just a comment just for a moment? I read through it, and my one question I have is, I'm guessing that this document was not authored by our own solicitor. That was struck me as mostly boilerplate language from somewhere, and I'm wondering if Alex, you could describe where the draft came from and so on. If you, I'm just asking you, I guess, to introduce the draft.
Yeah, I mean. This is a combination of multiple ordinances. We didn't synthesize this de novo. A lot of what you're seeing here is language specifically taken from an amalgam of multiple ordinances. What the supervisors liked the most from the other ordinances, we had several presentations which pretty much put all the language on that you have currently on one column and what the options are on the other, and the supervisors spent quite a while talking about what they like and what they don't like. And so after all that was put together, yours truly sort of put everything into a document that met the formatting for your zoning ordinance for an amendment, and that's what you got it. At this point, you mentioned the solicitor, supervisors have asked me to finalize this and send it to solicitor, so he'll do a formal review. And probably within the next month or so, he'll get feedback to the supervisors, and if there's anything that needs to be edited, it will that'll take place, and then the supervisors will decide if they want to advertise and move forward with this.
So this has been thoroughly reviewed by the supervisors.
The
And
supervisors, the engineer, and the planning commission at this point.
so we're the last group to examine this document, right? Okay.
And one thing that came out of the planning commission, and several comments, but also Jim's comment about the water being used in this. And I see, he's done an incredible amount of work researching the use of water in these places and how it can be limited so that we're not using more water. My feeling, when I look at these ordinances, and we're there's so many of them, and they are involved with, say, quality of life, like, okay, what's gonna happen to our water? What's gonna happen with noise? My feeling is, we can point out the problem. We can say, noise can't be more than so and so, right? Or we can say, water usage has to be in line with say sustainable use, including not drawing necessary water from the township, something like that. But beyond that, I don't think we should get into specifics, because first of all, we don't know where these things are going. In 3 years or 5 years, if there's ever one built here, which I doubt, in Smithfield, it could all be different. So what we are, when I say we being the EAC, the planning commission, and supervisors, is really acting like executives of saying, all right, here are the parameters, right? You can do anything within this, and but you can't do something outside of here. That's all we care about. Come to us with the plan. We can either approve it or not approve it. It's a conditional use. And if it fits within what we think protects the environment and township, and the conservation district, the EPA and so forth have already done their studies. All right, then we can either approve it or we can make conditions to the use of it. But we're like CEOs, and saying, give us the plan. We're the ones that'll look at it. We don't have to make the plan and we don't have to do the specifics on it. Other than being at a point where we just protect ourselves. And what Jim is saying is very important, is saying, okay, if you're using water, what's the sustainable limit, blah, 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 blah. If we just have some language in like that, we're okay, because the rest of it is gonna be done by the EPA, the Conservation District, and the studies that will go on for years of what these people are actually gonna do that have to be submitted to us, have to be approved. So, and I think that's true in a lot of cases. And what I'd love to do here, and I'd love to see more of, is that rather than just the planning commission and the supervisors have discussions and opinions on pending amendments, we do it here too. Because the EAC has a lot to say about certain aspects of this, and they should. In some ways, more than the planning commission. I mean, just going back to Jim, we can say, what about sustainability of water, blah, 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 you know, something like that. The planning commission really is limited. I'll give you an example with something very different, but in the planning commission, it came up that Rocco's wants to build an addition that will connect two sides of the building on Milford Road. And one of the commissioners brought the idea, what kind of cars, are they gonna work on cars out in front of that? And I brought up the point, this is none of your business. That's not a planning commission question. You know, what they do is their business. What we say is you can build or you can't, that's it. And so when it comes to questions of environment, we're better at asking those or posing the questions than, let's say, the planning commission is to take it into a lot of those things.
But we're at the ground level, right?
Hmm?
We're at the ground level right now.
Yeah,
Okay, so
you're talking about
the data,
the data center.
okay? That you cannot and you will not use water on an electrical fire, ever. They have to have a suppression system. Okay, so you have to have, they'll either use CO2 or they'll use some form of halon.
Okay.
Okay, so that's, you're not gonna use water for that, okay? My concern is that there are other means to cool, they're gonna use other means to cool it down, okay? And I'm not disputing what you're saying, because there's a fine line, okay? But if it says here, if you look at utilities, okay, and 20 subsection 27-1122 utilities, and that first sentence, it says will be met, including water usage, right? Emergency.
Including what?
Including water usage.
Yeah.
So you're regulating the water, okay? So at the same time, you regulate, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, you're putting a system, you have to show us that you're using, that the water is not your primary purpose for cooling. Okay, because you're not, for this type of equipment, you can never use water. You don't have enough water. You don't have oceans of water. Okay,
What you're saying is just demonstrate that water is not the primary coolant. Is that what you're saying?
yes,
Okay, we could put that in. But
yes,
again, that's the executive view, which is saying, we don't know the solution, we don't care. You bring it to us. All we're saying is,
yes,
remember this.
because you want 100,000 gallons per day, that's 3 million gallons a month, okay? And you're talking times 12, that's what, 60, that's 36 million gallons. That's, they make water filters for your home.
It's unacceptable.
Okay, yes, it's very
Yeah.
unacceptable. Okay, so we can regulate that.
No,
Okay,
we
they
can't
should-
regulate it. We can point the problem and say, you have to come to us. with a
Yes,
solution. That's all.
yes, you come up with a solution that says that water is not your primary purpose.
Right,
Because they're not gonna use it, they can't use it for fire, they only need it for,
and that's exactly what we should be doing at the EAC. And the planning commission is really out of that because it's like, yes, this is what we do, okay? This is an environmental question and we're just guarding.
But I noticed that this has changed, okay? So yes, a 100,000 gallons of water per day is enough for, at 10 gallons a day for average use of a person, you're talking 10,000 people. Okay, for 100, which is the rule of thumb, which is 100 gallons per day per person, for
Yeah.
cooking, for washing.
Right, 1,000 gallons a month. So
That'll be 1,000, that's good, 100,000 gallons will be it for 1,000 people a day. Okay, or 1,000, that's maybe 500 households.
well, and not only that, I think within, let's say, 3 or 4 years, we're gonna have maybe a population that swells by a couple thousand here. It'll be about 10,000.
I see water coming into my home. Okay, that looks like mud. Okay,
You're on Manwalamic now, American Water.
yes,
Let's hope they improve.
I hope so, but I got 16 filters by the time I drink my water. So that's, so,
I have to pump it and filter it,
okay, so.
I've got three filters.
and I'm across the street from it.
Right.
He's
And I'm
up the
down the hill
hill.
for both of you.
I drink it right from the creek.
He's got his own, well.
Yeah.
I've got it well too, so I mean, where are we going with this
I don't
discussion
know.
here? I'm
The
not sure.
discussion that we're going here is that we want to make sure that we protect our water, and that's what the.
Well, that's one of our primary roles
Okay.
as an EAC. I
And
think.
I think the EIC should, I'm sorry, Alex should note this, commented on this, that, we have to have something in it, to the effect that we have to protect their water sources from, the public needs, whatever we want to call
We come first.
them. We'll let you come up with a phrase.
All right, good gentlemen,
I just wanna make, because it may be out of turn, but, maybe stipulate that their water usage be normal water usage as a normal business or a normal household, and they truck in their water, and they have a treatment plant that they continually use that water and treat it, so they can continually use the same water and only truck in water as they need it.
Well, but what I was saying to him, that shows this is not finding solutions, just pointing out problems. Let them
Right.
find the solutions. They have to truck in water, that's their problem.
Right, but I'm just saying, to simplify the discussion, we could go, well, you're gonna have to truck it in.
45.
What we wanna make sure is that
They don't.
we got enough water here that's not being sucked up by a data center.
Right.
So if we put something in, just saying, you've gotta prove to us that the water you're using is not, taking from what.
You're not gonna dry up 100 wells in the area.
Right. That's all we need.
Okay.
Vicky,
You also gotta make sure your ordinance doesn't have
can't
any,
hear you.
gotta make sure that the ordinance does not have any loopholes for these companies to come back.
Let me talk
Gotta
about
be
that too.
strict.
Every ordinance is gonna have a loophole, no matter what we do. And my feeling is, after being here, doing this for years, is what you do is when you find a loophole, you close it. But you're never gonna know exactly what that loophole is. People are very clever. There's clever lawyers out there. If there's something to find, they'll find it. And no matter what the law is, there's always something. We can do the best we can, but we can always amend the law. And that's, in fact, that's what we're doing with this data centers. We have something in the ordinance that says data centers are allowed, but it doesn't say anything more than that. And it never was conceived with the idea that there were gonna be, 1,000,000 square foot data centers being built. So what we're doing is making a conditional use in the ED zone so that we can look at this stuff and say whether we want it or not. And I also feel that my gut feelings, they'll never be built in Smithfield. We don't have enough room for them. They'll go somewhere like down to Route 33 where you can build 1,000,000 square feet and nobody seems to care. But up here, we just don't have the room. So we'll see.
That's not.
yeah,
You guys take a look at this map. This is what the county provided us in terms of where in the township you could get a data center. That's, 10 acres in the ED zone or in one zone.
which blobs are on the map
This
are
is
you
like
talking about?
Lake Valhalla, industrial zone, this is like 209 going that way. So there's not a lot of parcels where you could even feasibly get one based on acreage and zone to begin with. Right.
Those zones, most of that area are not zoned for ED, which is data center, and also look at the area near Lake Valhalla. That's all wetlands.
Right,
To
so
build
like,
anything there, you have to do hydrological studies
But what about by,
or what?
over by, Price Choppers? That's the area you've got 209.
That's Middle Smithfield.
Where? Yeah,
That line is just for
well,
choppers.
this is, yeah, I mean, this
that's
is,
price chopper, that's
this is the core
Yeah,
here, right? So
yeah.
that's not, it's,
Right.
the quarry.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's
Okay,
like, and
Or is a great,
there's not,
would be a great place for it.
yeah, it'd be a great place for it, but I'm just saying, like, it's, we're not talking about data centers all over Smith, we're talking about only specific areas, and then in those areas, now you add all that criteria on top of it. So it's very, very protective as it is, just based on the zoning, and then you also have all of this is conditional use. So then if you don't, if there's something community is concerned about, you can add conditions. So then it really only leaves a very small portion of the township where you don't even have conditions, and then even there you have resource constraints that make it unfeasible. So I think, you know, yes, you're right to an extent about the water, but I think my recommendation is encourage the supervisors to put this on the books. It's orders of magnitude better than what you have now, and then come back later on as the technology develops. I think, you know, don't sacrifice progress on the altar of perfection.
The technology is
That's my
already-
comment.
the Technology is already there to cool down these super huge spaces without using water.
I think that's where it's going. But you know, 5 years from now, how do we know what's gonna go on? The Chinese invented a chip that's, I think, microscopic compared to what the American chips are through this, what's it, they call it the deep sink chip. But there'll be something that comes out here that's even smaller than that. So who knows? I mean, all you can say about technologies is when I grew up, an IBM sorting machine to do payroll took up a room. And the computing power of that machine is probably, I don't know, 1/1000th of what you get in an iPhone. So that's what, 50 years? So who knows?
Okay, we talked about this in general terms, which is fine. So Alex, I'm seeing this as kind of just as a shield in a way to protect ourselves from somebody just coming in willy-nilly and beginning a project without going through some important guidelines, which I think this ordinance proposes.
Yeah, Ken, and I put together a letter as well,
Yes.
which basically puts together, it's basically an actionable letter, you know, and based on the conversation, you could recommend to the supervisors they add criteria that requires that they demonstrate that water is not the primary coolant.
I think that's good.
And you can even, you know, something to that effect, you can add, I included a section here, you can add comments, but that's basically the action, you know, that's before you.
But the water is not the primary coolant.
You can make that recommendation to the supervisors.
Well-
To add that, although, I mean, at this point, you know, will they take it, that's up to
You'll be
them.
shooting your foot in the future if you don't take care of it now.
Well, let's,
But all we can do is.
I will recommend adding it.
okay, we've all read the letter, correct? And Alex, it seems to be well-written and to the point. And if we just add a little phrase to it regarding as Jim is proposing, then I think we'll have a document that will go back to the
Yeah,
supervisor.
something about protecting no one.
Right, so and we just add that little a sentence or whatever it would take to.
Alex and I have heard all this, so between us, we have enough memory to figure out
It's all recorded
how
anyway.
to do it.
Okay. All right, so how about a motion here to approve the letter and then as amended
But we're not adding the letter, we're adding a phrase about.
No, I'm just saying, we intend to send a letter to you guys
Okay,
and with that addition.
Okay.
Well, is there a motion to approve the letter as amended? Okay, the motion was made by Robert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Any further discussion of the letter? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye, okay, any objections or abstentions? Okay, well, we approved the letter unanimously. Okay. Next item B. Discuss upcoming hike with the Environmental Advisory Council. Well, this will be a fun event. Alex, you can.
That's kind of up to the council. I was hoping to open it up to discussion to see where you might like that hike. I think Mitch made a good suggestion to have it at Godfrey's Ridge. I think that's a viable option.
Is that within our jurisdiction? That's in Smithfield.
Part of it is, yeah.
Okay,
The parking is not, but the hike itself, it'd be like half in, half out. It'd be fairly intense, but it is a nice place to go. The county recently worked with a homeless population there, so it's less controversial in that sense now, so I think it might work. But I wanted to see what the group thought.
I'd be excited to try to do that hike, so that's just me.
Yeah,
Eric?
yeah, absolutely.
It's about 2 miles. You know, you go down to the waterfall, the old hydroelectric dam, there's some history involved.
Yep.
It would be sort of an interpretive hike. We talked a little bit about the gorge and the Broadgate Creek. Then we hike up the ridge, back across, and then, you know, fairly short.
Is it a safe hike for the average person, or do we need to take any liability steps? I'm just
Mhm.
throwing this out as a caution.
Where were you suggesting this again?
Godfrey's Ridge,
Godfrey's Ridge.
which is over in like Glen Park, where they put that new dog park.
We won't need a ambulance there, right, or ED?
No, the other options, you know, you have Mount Evo, you could do Mount Mincy, you have in Middle Smithfield, we have Resica Falls. Those are all viable options.
That's good to get them.
I vote for Godfrey, so.
We can do Godfrey first and then we'll
You
go.
know, we could always do another hike later. If it's popular, we could schedule another one for the spring or whenever.
Okay,
And pulling together some, talking points for the walk would be great.
That would give us, as an EAC, give us a little publicity and, but I'm guessing that 99% of our residents don't have no idea that we even exist.
And you're gonna open that up to public
another
participation, right?
historical part of Godfrey's Ridge is, it's where there was a trolley line that went from Delaware Water Gap all the way to East Stroudsburg. And you can follow the line along, it goes up the ridge and over and down. In fact, on Park Street in East Stroudsburg, there's a building that's still there. I don't know what it is now, but it was the trolley barn. And if you go down Park Street, you can see that, you'll know immediately which building it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
I did not know that. That's very interesting. Thank you.
so the question is maybe Saturday, the 27th at like 1 PM. I don't know how the group feels about early hikes. I'm not a huge fan of early hikes,
Oh, I'm not
like 10
either.
AM hikes.
I'm not a fan of getting up early.
Well,
Personally, I like early afternoon hikes. You eat lunch and then, you know, within an hour, then you go for a hike, and that is also a healthier approach as well.
what date repeat the date?
It would be Saturday, the 27th of September.
So it's not likely to be a hot day.
No.
Okay,
Fairly
all right, September, what did you say?
Maybe
The 27th, maybe the rain date will be that Sunday, the 28th.
Maybe we can have lunch at the Thai restaurant there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The view from that dining room is
Yeah,
spectacular.
no, it's great.
Did you say 2 or 1?
1 o'clock.
Well, that sounds like a plan to me.
Mhm.
Do we need to do anything? Do we need to propose a motion or we just put it on the schedule, right? And
I'll
publicize
send
it?
it to, I'll use
What's
the
that?
same, we'll use the same strategies for outreach with the pick up the Poconos, get it in the newsletter in September. Get it up on the website, get it on Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And then how we handle registration. I'll have to talk to our webmaster and see if he has any suggestions, but it might just be, hey, show up, here's the GPS locations and we'll hike together.
Well, there's not much time. It's only about 5 weeks away or so. So,
Yeah, that's true.
all right, now I think we're up to council member comment.
We have a couple others, Ken,
Oh, we do? I don't see those on the agenda.
under new business. The
Okay.
group wanted to talk
Oh,
about,
I'm sorry, B, I forgot, new business. I was jumping too far ahead.
yeah, the group wanted to talk about density and preserving the rural character in the last meeting. And how density building, I guess, building density is, if you allocate most of the density of new building to a certain area of the township, keep the rest less dense, it tends to be beneficial for the environment as opposed to creating a homogeneous amount of density throughout the entire municipality, right? And so you accomplish that generally through zoning. And as we know in this group, most of your power as a township comes through your police powers and zoning. Zoning and land use, that's where you have most of your discretion. That's where a lot of the environmental protection comes. You also have environmental protection through sewage planning and stormwater management as well. In ordinances, but generally speaking, density, if you have certain areas that are more dense than others, you keep the rest less dense, then that generally at least preserves water quality, simply because watersheds, as you reach a certain amount of impervious percentages, you get more and more degradation of water quality because of the anthropogenic influence and also the temperature influence. So, and that's pretty well understood in the literature. So I printed out a section of your zoning ordinance, which is called district regulations, and it kind of just puts together an overview of the regulations on, how much impervious surface a property owner can have in each of the districts. So like in the industrial district, 50% impervious surface, right? In the economic development district, 60%, which is actually quite good. A lot of townships in their business district, it's quite high, quite a bit higher than that.
So, when you're on the page.
Yeah, if you go to the last item in your agenda.
Yeah.
If you go to last item in your packet, it says up on the top 27-4.
Right, I'm on C where you were talking about the.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you look at C and you see impervious surface coverage, your zoning ordinance dictates what, like, let's say you have a 1 acre lot in the industrial zone, that landowner can basically pave 70% of that 1 acre. And that's their right under the zoning ordinance. If they're in the ED zone, they can only pave 60% of it. And if they're in R1 or R2, it can only be 35 up or 40%. And so by regulating in percentage imperviousness, the township is, before a building even goes up, they're already protecting the environment. And if you look at those percentages, they're quite good compared to other townships in terms of their protected value. The first part B is the size of dwellings. This is sort of like if you have a single family dwelling, a 1-bedroom apartment cannot be any lower than 646 square feet, which I think is fairly large. I think there's some discretion. The township could utilize that and have more apartments.
Actually do that, you can regulate the size of the dwelling.
Yeah, that's what that does. Yeah,
Yeah, but can you actually do that? I mean.
yeah, that's what they're doing.
When you say do that, what does do mean?
Well, I mean, you really have the power to stop people from building. What if somebody wants one of these new tiny homes that
Can't do it under the provisions.
okay,
That's what
so that's
I feel that we need legislation to change that so that we can have different types of housing like tiny homes.
right, because if you regulate, I could see if you're doing this for rentals. Because they do this, this is done in Strasbourg, where they regulate the size of how many people can be in a room. That's a little iffy too, but I don't know that you,
Well,
that you can
These
legally.
regulations have been there for quite a while, and I don't agree with them either. But look, this brings up another issue.
If you're looking if you're looking for development or mass, this is for mass, construction? This is
For
not for
any
someone,
construction, for any residential, right?
I don't know about that.
We're-
How would it relate to these motel rooms? Extended stay,
Good question.
Okay,
because some of those are gonna be less than 646 feet.
I think. Well, probably the answer is that if it was something else and it was converted, as long as the conversion. Meets certain other requirements, it probably could get by, but I don't know.
640
I really don't know, I'm not the zoning officer.
646 square feet for one bedroom? You're talking about the whole,
It's talking about a one-bedroom apartment, isn't it? What is it talking about?
Dwelling units.
Yeah.
Which is a complicated concept, as it turns out, but it basically comes down, like, that's, yeah, like, you can't go any smaller than 646 square feet.
I don't think that's right, I agree with you.
I don't, yeah, I
Agree.
My question is, this is a proposed change
So
or?
this is what you have in your books.
That's
This is what
what's-
exists now, and so why are we looking at this in the first place?
Just talk, just have a conversation.
yeah, because
Well,
it's,
when we
Well,
talk about,
I mean, obviously it has some issues,
when
so,
we talk about density,
yeah.
that's one of the things that comes up.
Yeah,
But I was gonna say, I'm hoping that what we can do here is on questions of quality of life, which includes density and includes open space. We can have a discussion and input on things that are being considered, right?
By the supervisors.
Right, for instance, and they may not even be at the point of an amendment being proposed yet, but they're concepts. For instance, the tiny homes, which I'm all for, and that's something to discuss. Another thing, I think is building height. Our building height now really, I think goes up about 4 floors, 3 or 4. Maybe we add a 5th. A lot of it has to do with getting permission from the fire department, but and that permission is probably gonna entail sprinklers, which may deter people from building that high, but we should have the option. Because if we're looking for density, if you build up, you're using less land. Another thing that we're talking about, which I think will come up at the next meeting, is revising the incentivized option in the zoning regulations. I think it's section 27-308, which is to say that, okay, if you're in the ED zone now and you want to build apartments, the first floor must be commercial. So if you're building 3 floors, the footprint of that one building or 3, whatever you're building, has to equal what you're building in commercial in that same site. Because what we're trying to do is keep, let's say, 209 and Melford Road as commercial areas where we're encouraging restaurants and gyms or whatever we're gonna put on the first floor, rather than just being filling up with apartment houses. The only problem is that we have a few places where it's inappropriate. And for instance, let's say, trying to think, Brown Street, right? Or Mount Tom Road, or Independence Road. These are places where if you built a commercial enterprise, it would probably fail because there's not enough traffic and it's not that kind of a place. And what we're considering is some kind of amendment would say this, that if you don't have any direct connection onto Milford Road or 7 Bridges Road, 209 business, you're not directly on those. We can waive the commercial part as long as you build a certain percentage of your units that are either below market rate for people that can't afford market rate apartments, or they're built for disability, people with disabilities. And if you do that, then you can build all apartments rather than we do it commercial.
Why do we always, why is it always the thinking that we're always building to keep people poor?
You're always building what?
We're always, and in the system that's been created, it's a system where it's made to keep people poor instead of making sure that people have the ability to live where they want. Okay, because if the purpose is to maintain slave labor, so that, hear me out.
Okay.
If the purpose is to maintain slave labor so that there's always a place that they can afford to live, then all we're doing is making sure that we have a population of poor people, instead of looking for a way to make sure that people are able to afford where they live,
Well,
rather than making places that accommodates for poverty.
but there's two sides to it. First is, first of all, in Monroe County, there's a huge housing shortage. There isn't any place to live, and the rents have gone up accordingly. I think you would know this more than I do.
That's supply and demand. If we, there was a time that somebody tried to corner the silver market in this country, and the government said, oh, wait a minute. And they took all the silver and they dumped it into the market. So if you have a way of incentives where you can build, okay, then you've eliminated that scarcity, because nobody's selling, because the reason no one is selling is because where will they move to? Because there's nobody else is selling.
That's true.
Okay, plus the interest is high. Younger people don't want that responsibility.
Well, it's not that they don't want it, they can't afford it.
They can't afford it because the system is made to keep people.
Are we talking, we can't talk about fixing the system, but
That's
are
right.
you, this is a recommendation that you've made about this, potential ordinance?
And recommendation.
These are recommendations that you're making for
No, this
future
future the supervisors are discussing,
discussing.
which actually comes from recommendations made by Habitat,
Yeah,
and
no, I think
United
they're great.
Way.
I think they're great. And is there a list of potential, changes or additions?
Well, it would be a change in the incentivized,
Just the
building, part of the zoning code. And
Why do we want to do that in Smithfield Township?
we feel two things. First of all, we feel a public obligation.
Absolutely.
Okay, because there's a lot of people out there in this county that can't afford housing, and there's a lack of housing. And by the way, we're not talking about poor people, we're talking about people who are below the median income. In Smithfield Township, the median income is about $90,000 or 93,000, I think. So if you figure that 30,000, a third of your income should go to rent, right? You're saying that if somebody is making what, $75,000, right, that they should be paying $25,000. That's not exactly poor, but it's at least less than the median rent.
So why does Smithfield Township want to be a social services organization when one of our primary things that we hear from people time and time again is that we want to keep Smithfield Township more rural? We don't want to increase the
rural
population
question,
density.
the rural question has to do with density versus open space. This has to do with if something is gonna be built and it's not it's in the ED zone and it's not on one of the commercial corridors, it would give the builder some relief if he would do this, which is creating, it's an incentive, and creating, let's say, a public good, at least we feel that. And it's not just below median income, It's people who are disabled who can't find places to live because they're not up to ADA standards.
Yeah, this is allowing the township to reduce the potential for greed amongst the developers who are going to develop, no matter what. They buy the land, they're allowed to develop, they're going to develop. We at least have a say and say that you're gonna be making a bunch of money. But we'd like you to remember that there are some people out here that might not be able to afford a $5,000 a month apartment, and you're being asked to allow these people.
And we're not dictating this. This is just an alternative we're offering. If we get to that point.
If it's maintained within the ED or zones,
If what?
if they're maintained in those ED zones, then it'll work because it's not going to fan out and then eat up that rural.
No, exactly. We don't want it on the commercial corridors. But what the problem with the ED zone as it's written now is, if you're not in a commercial corridor, but you're in the ED zone, you have the same rules. I mean, look at Brown Street. It's not a commercial street. There's no commercial stuff on it. A part of it is Smithfield Township, about maybe 10 properties. Well, if somebody wanted to come in there and build apartments, it seems like it's perfectly logical to do that. And
They
they
want to
even
do it
don't,
overlooking I-80, that's okay.
that was where it'd be, that little area there. So, it's kind of like, maybe we can do some public good, what's the harm? And the developer doesn't have to take this, they can dedicate their first floor to a giant gym, and they're okay. But we're just saying, okay, it's a possibility. Let me move on, there's another thing that,
Shouldn't these places be connected you're talking about?
I need what?
They'd be connected somehow.
Connected with what? I don't
These
know.
structures should have some kind of connection if you're gonna have. Cause it's just gonna look crazy, one building with a commercial space and we just have one building sitting in one place with a commercial.
Well, let's say Brown Street, there, whatever the corridor is there of commercial that ends at East Stroudsburg, where it ends. It would only make sense if somebody said, okay, I'm gonna buy up all these properties, I'll get joiner deeds, I'll put up one apartment house, and I don't wanna put commercial on the first floor because nobody's gonna use it. That would be a all, and they have this alternative,
But
but it's just an alternative,
right,
it's up to the developer.
but then again, you still have the university off of Brown Street, so.
Hmm.
You have the university off of Brown Street when they need
Well,
space to.
They'd probably be prime tenants, kids that, people that go to school there.
Yeah.
And I think they're out of housing too. And there's a whole housing shortage here that we're not aware of because we live in houses or farms. But
I'm aware.
if you're 25 or 30 years old, you can't buy anything. You can't, even renting is very difficult. If you were gonna rent an apartment, really nice apartment in Smithfield, where would you go? I don't think it exists. In fact, the only housing I think we have is up on University Hill there. And that's a 5-story building, I think, by the way, or 5-story, but that's for the university. There's nowhere else. So anyway, that's one. Another thing that we're talking about is we were talking about revising the language for hotels, inns, bed and breakfasts, because some of it is very outdated. For instance, with inns, there's really, an inn has to be on 10 acres. Why? Doesn't make any sense. A hotel doesn't have to be on any number of acres. And an inn really is a hotel that maybe doesn't have a lobby, I can't remember. But we're thinking of revising that, so we're saying, well, maybe adequate parking and open space is enough. Doesn't have to have a minimum acreage, it just has to have certain elements that say it's not gonna be squeezed into a neighborhood. So that's another thing we're looking at, your bed and breakfast, again. We thought, okay, let's revise this, and then I looked into it, and I realized bed and breakfasts as we knew them don't exist anymore. What they are really is inns. All through the Poconos, there are supposedly bed and breakfasts, but they're, places with, I don't know, 30 rooms, 20 rooms, gardens, and they're really like old mansions or places been built. They call them bed and breakfast, but it's not like, what we have in the ordinance that says you can't have more than 6 rooms. And you have to serve, breakfast, well, which is okay, but there are revisions that have to go on, come up with the times. What they're really defining is more what has been taken over by Airbnb than what exists for bed and breakfast. And consequently, we have no bed and breakfast in Smithfield. And here we are right on the river, probably the biggest tourist area of any of the areas in this, around the eastern end of the county. And we have no bed and breakfasts. We have one hotel, the Staybridge Suites. There's nothing else. And it's like, where do people stay? There are 4 to 5 million visitors to the national park that's 3 miles from here. And where do people stay? A lot of them have stayed at the Wyndham Resort because Wyndham Shawnee, since it's a PRD, which is a special zone for that it can be apart from our zoning rules, can rent short-term rentals overnight. So they've really become more of a hotel than they are a timeshare, but they're going out of business. By the end of the year, they say, when they're gonna close the resort, they're gonna sell the whole thing. So they're gone.
Okay, I think we've discussed this in a fairly loose way, and I think it's time we move on this.
Okay.
It's about 10 after 8, and I think we should try to wrap up this meeting fairly soon, so.
I like your style.
All right, we don't have any, there's no action item to take, but this is just an open discussion.
These are just like an education, just a reminder that township and its committees and boards, they protect the environment through zoning and ordinance.
Do we want some input in this? Is that what you're asking? Do you want some input in this?
I think that should be in the notes, but these are just what I'm suggesting is things that we should continually review because they're about the environment, they're about quality of life. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
sounds like the board wants to keep, if you're gonna develop, keep it in specific areas in the township. Don't let it go everywhere, keep it confined, and that's one of the powers the township has is. Say it can only happen in this zone. If you wanna have this dense development, it can only occur here, nowhere else. And
In order
it's
to move
important to
move-
pay attention to
moving
these
right,
things.
it's so. Where you're looking to take all these ancient ideas and bring them forward into the 21st century.
Yeah,
Update the
here,
order.
here.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, I think that's a
So you're
good
gonna,
final
are
note.
you, somebody gonna work on improving these and throw them at us?
We've been trying to work on them, we're continually working on them.
Yeah,
It's a huge workload because there's so many of them.
yeah, I mean, the data center ordinance is just part of your zone, like. There's little pieces you adjust at a time and maybe they'll take a look at, like what Robert was saying. Tweak the incentivized options to make it, there's lots of positive.
This doesn't it makes sense for certain areas, but it doesn't make sense for all the areas.
Correct. That's why we
You
have.
have
the
to
EV.
also understand
Yeah, that's
that
the
whatever you do in one area of the township can ultimately affect the whole township. And I'll just give you one example, and that's the atrocious, in my opinion, apartment complex at the end of Mount Nebo Road.
I hate it, but that's Middle
Okay.
Smithfield.
And that has made Mount Nebo Road a dangerous place to drive.
Mountain View apartments.
It's Middle Smithfield there.
Empire.
Yeah.
It's
And-
right where the price drop
And
is.
so when you do something in one area, it affects the
Right.
whole township.
I refer to that development as Stalag 17. It looks like a World War II
What's,
barracks in a prison
it
camp.
sounds like
That
that's
looks
what
like,
you
it looks like
want
the
in
one for
parts of
across the street from
Smithfield.
Aldi's.
Well, we can't necessarily the township isn't like the Chamber of Commerce. We don't say, hey, come bring this in. We want, no, like you zone for it and then the developers decide what they want to do on their property, right? So we're not the Chamber of Commerce. We don't say, hey, we want to bring supermarket. It'd be nice
Oh,
to
yes,
have that.
that's not true.
Well, it's
We
not,
encourage developers, we work with them to give them ideas,
Oh,
we
yeah.
never have gateway project if you hadn't done that.
I'm just saying, like, generally speaking, the township is supposed to be enforcing the ordinance. It creates the zoning, and then the economic community comes in and does their own things, and we sit back and we say, okay, it looks like you meet these criteria, then, you know, that's how it's supposed to be.
By the way, Mitch, that development is full. And they're gonna build more. Because it's so close.
I was just making the
I
point
agree.
that we are working with developers to bring in certain.
But that's Middle Smithfield.
Well,
not us.
that's a good segue into the next item on our new business agenda. So let's move on to item B. Discuss communicating and collaborating with neighboring EAC. I requested that this be added to the agenda. And it just so happens that a friend of mine happens to be a supervisor in Stroud Township, our neighboring township to our west. And she's also a member of their EAC. It turns out that in Monroe County, there are only 3 EACs for all of the municipalities that exist in Monroe County, which is, I think the number is 20 something.
20.
So.
I think there's 4, but you're right.
And the point you made is that what we do in this township affects others, and others, what they do affects us. So we should cooperate with the folks over in the next township and their EAC. And I know that they're active, they're not dormant as this one was for many years until about a year ago.
Correct.
So I think that it would be a damn good idea that we send them a nice little letter and say, we folks in Smithfield would like to collaborate, whatever the best verb is, and make sure that what our interests are in line with what their interests might be. And I assume that, there's a major water issue in Stroud, just as there is here.
Well, I think I'd go further than that. I think we should set up meetings with them, call them shop talk meetings, just, what we're doing, what you're doing, what your concerns are, what ours. Let's all get together and talk about it.
Right, and you just think about the geography here. We form one border along not only the Delaware on our east side, but we've got Broadhead Creek on the west side. And on the west side of Broadhead Creek is the massive Stroud Township. So we share that common body of water which feeds the Delaware. Yeah, sure. So it just makes perfect sense.
I absolutely agree.
Maybe we can just write a letter and ask if there's a good time, maybe we could attend one of their meetings.
Or vice versa.
So, yeah, I don't know what the rules are, but if we just attend their meeting, then there's no.
Oh, see, I mean, you could have a joint EAC meeting.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good if we could send a letter, maybe have two, but Robert, you could meet with one of their supervisors and talk it over. And
Why
then,
don't you invite them to
You know,
go
something
on
like
a
that.
hike?
I could.
That's a good idea.
Or just have it
Because then you can have a lot of
I wish we-
informal
township
discussion.
paper dinner.
Have it from there anyway.
I'll talk.
but I think the supervisors should sit down, like, let's send a letter and then, if there's interest, then maybe the supervisors and so maybe like Ken and Robert can meet with one of their supervisors and their chairperson and talk about maybe, as part of the letter, you can send them your annual report. So they see some of the topics you're talking about.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Would you be willing, or I'd be willing, I think you do a damn good job of drafting letters, and then we can look at that and, next meeting,
Okay.
think about sending it.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
And it's also worth pointing out that some of these other townships around us, they might get a letter saying maybe you should start an EAC. Like, why doesn't Middle Smithfield have an EAC?
They should.
If you look at their sensitive water bodies, that's just an example. East Stroudsburg Borough doesn't have one. I mean, there's a lot of townships that should have an EAC that don't.
Well,
And so that's another thing that, you know, if these two groups can get together, you can also reach out to other townships, say, hey, look, this is working real well. Why don't you have one? And see if they're, you know, if they consider doing it.
Yeah, they all go back to, some state legislation that was, enacted, many years ago. And every municipality in the Commonwealth has the option of having an EAC.
Yeah, that's true.
But unfortunately, it seems very few actually have.
I'm. I mean, working towards that, I'll meet with anyone there, but I'd like to get all of us together, get them together. Figure out someplace where, you know, sit, meet and, you know, have the townships pay for us, so their township can pay for them, whatever it is. But, you know, sitting around like that and just talking, I think a lot of things come out, that don't come out in formal meetings. It's just, you know, it's
I have plenty of the.
ideas.
With the caveat that you can only get,
Mr. Vice
you
Chair.
can only get 3 of you together, otherwise it's a Sunshine Act issue. So you can't all just sit down and have dinner, you know, I mean.
Even just, it's an EAC, it's not the supervisors.
Any public body, you can't, if you're quorum, you can't just have an sit down.
Can we invite them on our site?
Yeah, well, as long as you don't
John?
talk, agency business.
Sayonara.
All right,
Sayonara.
all right, well, it is, I can tell by the clock on the wall that, people are getting a little itchy.
You wanna just table the rest of this stuff?
Uh,
I wish we could get together.
The only thing I'd point out is, the EAC, recommendations that you've sent, they're gonna be on the 26th agenda. There's 3 of them now at this point. You have the map one, you have the ordinance revision, and then you have the data center one. So the supervisors are gonna get all 3 and discuss it there, and then any feedback the supervisors have, you know, I trust Robert will come back and give it to you next time. That's
Okay.
basically how it's gonna work.
sounds like the plan. Okay, let's see, do we have time for any, item A, council member comments quickly? Anybody have anything more to say?
I'm talked out.
I'm talked out. Eric? Okay, sounds good. Public, anyone out there has comment?
Yeah, I'll say 1 or 2 things really quickly.
Who, can you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, Michael Avicini, it's right up here, Michael Avicini, nice to see you guys again. I'll do it in under 60 seconds, just like last time. The online complaint form, there's a lot of different avenues to do that, for free. So just, I would talk to as many people as you can about before you spend money looking for companies. I know as a teacher, you can use Google Sheets. And that kind of tracks everybody's response. You can post a link to it on the website. You know, get Jacob to get some ideas flowing for that. The data center ordinance, I think I agree with Robert and everybody else on the council, essentially saying that you make general protections and then you update as necessary. It's something that's evolving day by day. And then the last thing I completely agree with the joining up with other EACs, getting collaboration because we have shared interests in Monroe County. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks for coming.
yes, sir.
Lewis Wolf, I'd like to volunteer for the board,
Volunteer
for
for,
the board,
to be an alternate at this point?
or whichever is
Yeah.
convenient.
Well, there'll be another spot, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But if you wouldn't mind just writing an email, you can send it to me, just make it like a formal, hey, I have who you are, do you live in the township, I have a formal interest in joining, and then send it to me and I'll send it to the supervisors.
Absolutely, I'll get your email after this, thank you.
Okay.
These 2 gentlemen have already sent in their letters, so
Oh, perfect.
send in their letter.
Anyone else?
I just wanna, if we do have a collaboration with another EAC, will it be open to the public for those of us who have not got on the board that are wishing to get on the board to listen to some of the conversation?
I can answer
That's
that. Yeah,
just
so
public
anytime an agency conducts business, it has to be open to the public. You
Okay.
can't have you can't just sit down in a closed room and have a quorum meet. It has to be in an open forum. It's advertised, of course. You know, if there's a joint meeting, then it'll be open to the public, absolutely.
Okay.
That's what a sunshine law is for.
I just wanted to make sure it was.
All right,
Yeah,
Vicky, anything to say? Nothing to say?
all right.
Believe it, you said it earlier.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Eric, motion to adjourn and Mitch seconded. Any discussion of adjournment?
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're out of here. Thank you all for coming.